Good morning. Good morning. That is what we want to see all of us doing, skipping down the church aisle. It's just, so welcome to the United Church of Strafford, Vermont on this sixth Sunday of Easter and Story Sunday. And it is a joy, it really is a skipping joy to be here together, both in person and also online. We acknowledge that we are on the ancestral and unceded land of the traditional caretakers, the Abenaki, the Western Abenaki or Wabanaki people. And our congregation has voted to establish a reparations fund for the hardships that they have had to endure from colonial times until this day. And we give thanks for the opportunity to share in the bounty of this place and to protect it in the spirit of indigenous wisdom. And part of that wisdom is the honoring of the mothering spirit of the universe. Native American traditions tell of Sky Woman, who fell to the earth at the Great Spirit's request before the earth was fully formed. And Sky Woman and her daughter gave birth to all kinds of life, and they nurtured and cared for the earth as mothers do. Other spiritual traditions, like the ones that founded this church, have emphasized the image of the Creator God as a man. And they have had male-dominated societies. But if we look more closely at our tradition, we can see that our God, too, can be a mother, as well as a father, as well as a non-binary being that embodies all creative and parenting roles. So we are evolving and we are growing in our understanding, and that is a very good thing. And today's service is another step on that journey that we are taking together. And this church, too, is evolving and growing in beautiful ways. And our love and our inclusivity are expanding. We have long aimed to be open to and supportive of all. And we're learning ways that we can be even more so. And that is really, if you think about it, that's the goal of all of our lives and all humanity, is to open our hearts ever wider as we grow and as we learn, until we love as God loves and as Jesus loves, with all-inclusive and unconditional compassion and love. Jesus said, "Jerusalem, Jerusalem, how often have I desired to gather your children together as a mother hen gathers her brood under her wings." Well, we feel that mothering instinct toward all the creatures and all the people of earth, and that's probably farther than our wings can reach. But we can extend the reach of our love and our care to every single person here, of any age or background or tradition, and that's a good start. It doesn't matter if this is your first time here or you've been coming here for 50 years. Today we are this loving community, and it is up to each of us to make it feel like a home for all. So please linger after the service to enjoy neighborliness and friendship and yummy foods and toys and playfulness and skipping in the parish hall. And those of you on Zoom, please linger and visit with one another, and I will get on and visit with you too at the end of the service. Please see the announcements in the bulletin. If you are online, be sure to see the bulletin that you can find in the menu at the top of the welcome page of our website. Are there other announcements that need to be made today? I don't see anybody jumping up and down. Okay. Please be sure to see the announcement about next Sunday's congregational meeting and vote. And everyone is invited and encouraged to participate. And this is your church to shape for the future. So please see that note. And also, please remember that we're taking our offering online on the welcome page of our website, or you can send donations in my mail, or in the sanctuary. You can place your offering in the baskets in the back. The offering is another word for the giving of ourselves, and that giving of love and action and material support is what makes everything else that we do for the world possible. It is a symbol of all kinds of parenting. So thank you, whenever and however and whatever you may give. And now Rachel will call us into the spirit of the day.
Good morning, everyone. This festive day of celebrating all who have mothered us, even ourselves, as we experience that deep sense of nurture, of protection, of wisdom that God instills in each of us. Let us come together in the Story Sunday, picking up where we left off last time. Let it go, my love, my truest love. Let it sail on silver wings. Life's a twinkling, that's for certain, and it's such a fair thing. We're a gathering of spirits, we're a festival of friends, and we'll pick up where we left off when we all meet again. I can't explain it, couldn't if I tried, how the only things we carry are things we hold inside, like a day out in the open, like a love we won't forget, like the laughter that we've started and hasn't died down yet. Let it go, my love, my truest love. Let it sail on silver wings. Life's a twinkling, that's for certain, and it's such a fine thing. We're a gathering of spirits, we're a festival of friends, and we'll pick up where we left off when we all meet again. Oh yeah, didn't we? Don't we make it shine? And aren't we in the middle of something rare and fine? Some glow like the embers and like light in colored glass, and some give it all in one great flame, throwing colors as they pass. Let it go, my love, my truest love. Let it sail on silver wings. Life's a twinkling, that's for certain, and it's such a fine thing. We're a gathering of spirits, we're a festival of friends, and we'll pick up where we left off when we all meet again. Yes, we'll pick up where we left off when we all meet again. Thank you, friends. So as we have the tradition in this church of lighting the peace candle, each Sunday of these Story Sundays, I've been telling the story of the peace candle, about a woman who had a dream that if we all lit peace candles all around the world and we prayed really hard for peace, that we could go out and change our communities. We could change the world. We could bring peace into our hearts and into the hearts of all. Well, Mother's Day is a really special day in the history of our world, because Mother's Day isn't just a day where we give flowers to our mothers, we write cards or give cards. It has a deep-seated history of activism, both in this country and around the world. In fact, a long time ago, in 1858, a woman named Anne Jarvis was a woman who had at least 11 children. She was living high up on the hills of Appalachia in a small house. She didn't have running water. There wasn't clean water. There weren't toilets and bathtubs. Sanitation, cleanliness was really a big issue. And she had a dream that if she gathered all of the mothers and the fathers and the parents that she knew, and she marched to the courthouse, she marched all the way to Washington, then maybe, just maybe, something would change. And that's exactly what she did. And she spent the rest of her life gathering all those little lights in different people and bringing all the people around who wanted to make change together. She spent her whole life improving the lives of her children and their children, her neighbors' children and their children, and the children all around. And her daughter, many years after Anne's death, her daughter Anna, petitioned the government to make an official Mother's Day in honor of her mother's activism. During Anne Jarvis's life, another woman far away on the other side of the world, Julia Ward Howe, after the terrible Franco-Prussian War, organized parents, mothers and fathers and all parents of all kinds together to march for peace, because no longer did they want their children to experience the horrors of war. And they marched on Mother's Day. Many, many years later, famous 1968, after Martin Luther King Jr.'s assassination, Coretta Scott King led hundreds of people, mostly mothers, to march on the Poor People's Campaign on Mother's Day. Another time of activism, of movement to encourage the repealing of unjust laws and to create a massive movement to improve the lives of children and grandchildren and the children after. She wrote, "Some women have been entrusted with the sacred task of giving birth and rearing children, transmitting the values and the cultural heritage of the nation. We have a special commission at this time to nurture, protect, and save those lives from destruction." We know today that not just mothers have that commission, but we all have that commission to go out, to bring peace, to spark that little light in all of us together, to pray with our feet, with our words, with our whole lives for that change and for that peace. Let's take a moment before we light that peace candle and join the thousands, the millions across the world lighting those peace candles to pray for peace in our communities, our families, and in our world. Thank you. And let us join in together with the prayer in your program as we light the peace candle. In Christ was life, and life was the light of the world. The light shines in the darkness and does not overcome it. Let us pray for peace and the things that make for peace as we light the peace candle. And as we can pray with our feet, with our words, with our hearts. Let us also pray together in song. Gideon, will you come down and help me with the hand motions for Peace Like a River? Come on in. And we're going to sing together, I've Got Peace Like a River. And there's a fourth verse in your program in Spanish that we're going to try. Now, Gideon, what are the hand motions for I have peace like a river? I have peace like a river. You're welcome to stand if you're able. I've got peace like a river. I've got peace like a river. I've got peace like a river in my soul. I've got peace like a river. I've got peace like a river. the next one? Let's do joy like a fountain, okay? How's joy like a fountain? I've got joy like a fountain. I've got joy like a fountain. I've got joy like a fountain in my soul. I've got joy like a fountain. I've got joy like a fountain. I've got joy like a fountain in my soul. Love like an ocean. What's love like an ocean? Nice. I've got love like an ocean. I've got love like an ocean. I've got love like an ocean in my soul. I've got love like an ocean. I've got love like an ocean. I've got love like an ocean in my soul. Okay, can you do the river one again? I'm gonna try it in Spanish. Tengo paz como río, tengo paz como río, tengo paz como río en mi alma. Tengo paz como río, tengo paz como río, tengo paz como río en mi alma. Thank you so much. Let us have peace like a river. So I invite families, people who are young and young at heart, if you'd like to come up a little bit, we're going to be looking at a book and I'll be telling a story. Galilee, you can join me up here if you'd like. Come on up. Can you sit down? Can you sit down here so you can see, please? Sit down, down, or sit with your brother. So as we expand our experience and our thoughts and our contemplation about God from the traditional God the Father to God the Mother and beyond, just start that process a bit with this beautiful book called Mother God. You know God is Father. God is also your mother too. You are made in her image. She is making all things new. Waiting for new life to begin, God is a mother in labor. She takes deep breaths until the birth, rejoicing with friend and neighbor. Throughout day and night, God wakes to nurse the infant at her side. She snuggles her baby gently until he closes his sleepy eyes. When baby tumbles on the floor, God pulls off each tiny sock. She holds her arms out wide, and baby learns to walk. God is Sophia, wisdom, teaching what is true and right. Wisdom works, creates, orders, and plays. She calls us with joy and delight. Over the waters of creation, God is the spirit who hovers. She forms the earth into a bed, and the wide sky it covers. God is a mother hen who gathers chicks under her wings. She plays hide and seek in soft grass behind trees and quiet springs. Galilee, why don't you sit next to me, okay? She protects her cubs from danger. God, the great mother bear, she is fierce, she is tender. She guards them in her care. God is a lurking leopard, secretive, skilled, and strong. Teaching her young to swim and climb, she roars and they tag along. With a huge supply of flour, God kneads and bakes good bread. She feeds her entire neighborhood. They feast and all are fed. God is a skillful seamstress who stitches and throws and sews thread together. She makes fine clothes for rain, snow, and sun, caring for you in all kinds of weather. It's okay, it's okay. Granny Baba Halmanoni, God is a woman with gray hair. She passes down stories of old, rocking them softly in her chair. She is the God who sees you. God weeps, mourns, and cries. She comforts you through the longest night, keeping watch until sunrise. She quiets us with her song, singing lullabies in the night. God, our nurturing mother, wraps us in holy moonlight. God is your loving mother. You are made in her image too. God calls you beloved, for she is making all things new. Thank you. A story of long, long ago. It's an old, old story that we read about in our scriptures, the Bible, in the Hebrew scriptures, even in the Quran, the Islamic scriptures. It's a story about a woman named Hagar. She had a pretty hard family situation. She lost her family for many, many tough reasons. And she and her son Ishmael were sent out to wander, to find a new life, to find a new home, to figure out how to live together. And where they lived, it was hot and dusty, for they were sent out into the desert. They had a little food and a little water. And soon they drank the water and they ate the food, and there was none left. Now Hagar wanted to find food and water for her and her son, and she looked here and she looked there, and there was so little in the desert. She just couldn't find enough for them. There was little shade too, and it was hot. She thought to herself, if I can settle Ishmael down next to this one beautiful shade bush, I will go out and search. I'll keep my eye on my son, and I will go and I will search for food and water. For I am tired. I have carried him, we have walked far, and I think I can do this a little bit this way. So she settled him next to this one shade bush. And she went out searching. Maybe there was a caravan over here. Maybe there was water. And she walked and she hiked all around, keeping an eye on her son. In fact, she went up, up, up one mountain named Safa. And she looked this way and she looked that way, and she did not see what she was looking for. So she hiked back down and she went up another. This was named Marwa. And she looked this way and she looked that way, looking for a caravan, looking for water, looking for food, anything that might help her and her son. And she went back and forth between these two hills, these two mountains, 7 times. Looking, maybe I missed the water over here. Maybe there's a caravan coming. Maybe there are people off in the distance. And she looked, and she didn't see anyone. She looked, and she didn't see any water. And she grew tired and thirsty. Her son had fallen asleep next to this shade tree, and she worried. She worried deeply for herself, for her son. She kept searching this way and that and going back between the two mountains, this way and that. Is there a caravan? Is there water? Is there food? Is there shelter? After going back and forth 7 times, she sat down on the top of one of the hills. She put her hands over her eyes and she started to cry. She was angry about what had happened to her and her family. She was so sad that she couldn't be the mother she wanted to be. She couldn't provide what she wanted to provide, and she was so tired. She just needed some help. And she prayed. She prayed so hard. She prayed, God, please give us some water. Please give us some shelter. Please, we need help. And in that deep, deep place of longing, of that place of need, of exhaustion, of sadness, even of anger, she prayed from that place, and out of her heart poured love. Love for her son, love for God, love for herself. And as she was sitting there, she looked down upon her sleeping child, and she saw something form around him. It was of all colors and no colors. It was beautiful. It was light and it was darkness. It had wings and it had scales. It was of this world and it was not of this world. And she saw this heavenly being, this angel, settle next to her son. And she heard the most beautiful sound in the world, her son giggling. He woke up and he looked at the angel and he laughed and he giggled. And the angel dug in the sand, and a spring, Zamzam, emerged. And the spring flowed out and became a pool, and the boy drank deeply from the pool. And before her eyes, she saw this heavenly being gather up her son in its arms, surrounding him with nurture, protection, and love. And she knew then that this was God. God who had come to mother, to save, to protect. And in that moment of seeing her son surrounded by that heavenly being, she herself felt the arms of God around her. And she felt the confidence and the strength to go on, and the hope that all things would be okay. So she came down off the mountain and joined her son, drinking deeply from the miraculous pool. And it was there that they settled. Now, water in the desert attracts all sorts of things, and soon birds started flying and congregating by the water. Animals of all sorts came. And the pool grew to a lake and a river that still flows today. And Hagar and Ishmael built their house there, a simple house. And they settled by those waters. And soon other people joined them. Caravans came, attracted by the birds that they saw flying. And a whole city grew up. And that is where Ishmael grew up, among the people who had faith that God would be there to mother them. And that is the story of Hagar and Ishmael. I wonder what part of that story you liked the best. I wonder what part of that story you saw yourself in. I wonder what part of that story you felt was the most important. Take a minute to think of the story of Hagar and Ishmael. What part did you like the best? I got her.
I liked, well, that when they didn't have a place to live.
When they didn't have a place to live?
Yeah.
They were wandering? I wonder what you liked the best. Where you saw yourself in the story. What you thought was the most important. Anyone else like to share?
When they built their house.
When they built their house? Yeah.
I love the emotions that it's good to be angry. Anger is actually to fight for dignity, rights, or something. So this morning I want to say, I heard a little child crying, maybe wasn't happy or something, and I'm like, I want to go and support that mom. So it's so important to get these emotions out, and because God answers when we are like crying and anger, because we know Hagar had all the rights to be angry and all of that. So the forgiveness and that's powerful.
Thank you. Anyone else? Wonderings. Wonder what part you like the best. Where you saw yourself in the story. Or what part you thought was the most important. Any other wonderings? I got it.
I think as parents, and just as humans, we can all relate to fretting and searching and ripping our hair out and worrying about our children. But it was the moment where she stopped and she cried and she prayed that things changed. So that's the part of the story that was most important to me.
Thank you. Any other sharings? Well, I would like to teach you a song. And this is, I won't use the guitar for it. I'm going to teach it to you, and then we'll sing it in a round. And it's a song that is about the river, like Zam Zam. That flows out. And I'll sing the first verse, and then we'll sing it again together. It goes, the river is flowing, flowing and growing. The river is flowing down to the sea. Try that. The river is flowing, flowing and growing. The river is flowing down to the sea. The second verse goes, Mama, please carry me, your child I will always be. Papa, please carry me down to the sea. Mama, please carry me, your child I Let's sing it through once together, and then we'll attempt to do a little round. The river is flowing, flowing and growing. The river is flowing down to the sea. Mama, please carry me, your child I will always be. Papa, please carry me down to the sea. Okay, I'll start this on this side. The river is flowing, flowing and growing. The river is flowing down to the sea. The river is flowing, flowing and growing. The river is flowing down to the sea. Mama, please carry me, your child I will always be. Papa, please carry me down to the sea. Now all together. Mama, please carry me, your child I will always be. Papa, please carry me down to the sea. Thank you. Next, we're going to have a story entitled When God Was a Little Girl, read by Danette.
Good morning. This book is about this little girl, Susanna, and a conversation she had with her dad. So the whole story is Susanna and her dad talking back and forth on a car trip. It's called When God Was a Little Girl. Tell me a story, Daddy. It's a long car ride from Madison, Wisconsin to Decorah, Iowa. And a good story always helps the miles fly by. What kind of story? Tell me a story about when God was a little girl, she announced, her eyes twinkling with that divine little twist. Okay, when God was a little girl, she liked art projects. Art projects, Susanna echoed in delight from the back seat. Yes, art projects. She liked to do art projects, just like you do, which is a good thing because that's how the world came to be. Really? Really. Let me tell you all about it. In the beginning, there was only God. Nothing else was made yet. Daddy, wait. Was God lonely? Lonely. Let's see. When you're lonely, do you smile and giggle? No. Well, then I don't think God was lonely because already, before anything was made, she was giggling. Giggling. Yep, giggling. Because she was imagining all the things she was going to make, and her imagination tickled her heart the way a feather tickles your ear. Then her tickling quieted to a soft hum, and she began to create. And I bet she's gonna sing. Exactly! She started out humming so the tune would be just right when she sang the first word. And as she sang each word, it was like she dipped her brush in paint, just like me. And whenever she sang, she could see just as clearly as when you paint me a picture. And the first word she sang softly, but very clear, was love. Let's all say it together. Love. One more time. Love. And the love looked like, let me guess. Darkness. It was all dark. Ah, It was midnight blue, the color of the sky in the middle of the night. The deepest blue you can imagine, even darker than black. Why do you think love was that color? Because, Daddy, that's just like love. It's there, even when you can't see it. Love always finds you in the darkness, and when it holds you close, you know you're home. That's beautiful, darling. So before anything else was made, there was love. Love, like deep, dark blue, has always been there. Yup. Love was what God felt when she was giggling, and love was the first color God painted when she sang. Next, God giggled so loud, she almost startled herself. Light. Light and bright yellow and white went splashing everywhere, like sunshine rushing through the windshield, so bright you can hardly see. So bright that God had to squint. So she took a bunch of the light, rolled it into a ball, and threw it into the sky, singing, sun. Then she took another bunch of light and made a ball, and when she tossed this one into the sky, she sang its name like the sound of a lullaby, moon. And then, Susanna, God got out the glue. The glue? Yes, and the glitter, just for Joey. Because after the two big balls of light, mostly all that was left were little bits of shining light here and there. So God squeezed out some glue onto her paper, except her paper was the sky, and she tossed the glitter bits up until they stuck in twinkling patterns all across the sky. Oh, stars. Yes, and that's just how she sounded when she sang their name to them. God sang lots of words for a long, long time. She sang earth and cold grays and warm browns and hot red painted rocks and dirt, hot reds painted rocks and dirt and sand. Oh, and God sang water. And she laughed out loud because all kinds of blue were splashing around and making big and small puddles everywhere. And then God sang the word green. Green, green, and the earth and the water and the sun and love, they all danced together while God sang. And the green was like the sunflower seeds and the bean seeds, and you helped me plant in the garden. God grew grass and bushes and trees and flowers of every color. Oh, Susanna said, God grew a great big garden, just like we do. Yep, just like we do, Susanna. It was a very pretty picture God painted, don't you think? Yes. And what do you suppose she did next? I don't know. Yes, you do. What do you do when you make pictures? I give them to you. And that's just what God did. God made someone to share the picture with someone who could giggle next to God at how pretty everything was. Who? Asked Susanna. Us. God took some earth and made us. She found the softest, nicest smelling earth, the earth that comes from plants when they turn back into dirt, and she called this earth humus. And she rolled the humus between her fingers just like when you play with clay. Oh, so she smiled and giggled, and she made humus beings, bunches of them, and each one was a little different. Some were the color of deep, dark earth. Some looked like pale sand on the beach. And some were older and some were younger. Some were taller and some were shorter. Some were thin, some were round. And God thought they all looked just right. And she sang to them because they were human beings. And then God set them in a big circle and asked, what do you think? They all looked at the garden and at each other, and they said, this is good. And you know what God said? What? What? God said, thanks, but I'm not quite done singing yet. And while the humans, beings, watched wide-eyed, God sang, I know. And her song painted every type of animal, didn't it, Daddy? And then she said with a big grin, you can't have a party without lots of company. And she invited the human beings to help her sing. Now it's your turn to sing. Your special job in the garden is to be the echoes of me. And I made the animals with my singing. You get to name them with your singing. And then God explained, this is how you become friends with everything in the garden. See, it's a great big song. And when you name each animal, and the plants too, you can hear how all the notes fit together. So God listened all afternoon while the humans named the animals. They named every plant and animal in the garden and learned the great big song that mixed all the notes together. It sounded like a rainbow. The rainbow? The rainbow. Because as they named each animal, the words fit together just like the colors in the rainbow. They made the whole picture look most beautiful. And as the sun set, like God yawned, just like little girls do when they're tuckered out by big art projects, and she said, let's all take a nap. We'll have the party tomorrow. And so they did. And that's what happened when God was a little girl. Daddy, did it really happen like that? Well, sure it did. It always happens just like the stories say, even when the stories tell it differently each time. Daddy, came a sleepy voice from behind me. I love you. I love you too, Susanna. I love you too. We pulled up to the house, and as I carried the sleeping little bundle of trust inside, I whispered in her ear, and Susanna, when God was a little girl, that's what she said to each of us before the party began. She said, I love you. God made us to be little echoes of the giggles that she felt already before there was anything at all. And when we live as the echo of God, we say, I love you, right back to her and to everything else, just like I did to you. And from somewhere in her dreams, a little voice smiled up to me. I know, Daddy. That's why I asked you to tell me a story.
Thank you. Let's take a minute or two turning to somebody close to you and share some of your wonderings of that story. Great. I'm excited to hear about your wonderings. I wonder what part of that story sparkled for you. What sort of lifted up as important? I wonder what part of that story really touched that part of your heart. Maybe that's where you saw yourself in the story. I wonder what part you liked the best. Take a minute with someone close to you and share your wonderings. Well, let us pray together. Holy God, help us feel surrounded by your mothering love, the love that protects, nurtures, teaches, guides, comforts. Help us be that love to others and extend that love out into the world, that creative love that is beyond gender, is beyond even our own experience. God, help those in our lives who are hurting, heal those who are in pain, lift up those who need to see your glitter in the skies. God, help us embody your wondrous love in all that we do, for we are guided by your love, and we have faith in that love always. Amen. Thank you, guys. Okay, before we close, we're going to sing one more song together. You're welcome to go back to your seats or sit up if you'd like. And I think a lot of us know the song, He's Got the Whole World in His Hands. We're gonna play around with our pronoun use a little bit here. And we'll start with the first 3 verses that are in your program, and then we're gonna ask the kids if they have some others that they want. So we'll start with she. She's got the whole world. Let's see if I get the right key. She's got the whole world in her hands. She's got the whole wide world in her hands. She's got the whole world in her hands. She's got the whole world in her hands. He's got the rain and the winds in his hands. He's got the winds and the rains in his hands. He's got the winds and the rains in his hands. He's got the whole world in his hands. Itty bitty baby. He's got the itty bitty baby in their hands. They've got the itty bitty baby in their hands. They've got the itty bitty baby in their hands. They've got the whole world in their hands. What does God have in God's hands? Animals? Any particular animals? We'll start with she. She's got all the animals in her hands. She's got all the animals in her hands. She's got all the animals in her hands. She's got the whole world in her hands. What does God have in God's hands? Anything? You got one? No? Ooh. How about some trucks too? How about that? Yeah? We did animals. We'll do he, okay? We'll do trucks and the flowers. How about that? He's got trucks and the flowers in his hands. He's got trucks and the flowers in his hands. He's got trucks and the flowers in his hands. He's got the whole world in his hands. Anybody else? Another one. Excuse me? All our mothers. They've got all our mothers in their hands. They've got all our mothers in their hands. They've got all our mothers in their hands. They've got the whole world in their hands. They'll take the hand of somebody else near you. Maybe stand up if you'd like.
You have one?
You have one? What's one you've got? The dads? Okay, we'll do they and dads one more time, okay? They've got all the dads in their hands. They've got all the dads in their hands. They've got all the dads in their hands. They've got the whole world in their hands. Now, when we're using different pronouns, sometimes it's good to go a little slower. And when there's lots of words in the song, we go a little slower too. So take the hands of somebody, maybe somebody near you, because God's got all of us in God's hands. God's got all of us. In God's hands, God's got all of us. In God's hands, God's got all of us. In God's hands, God's got us all in God's hands. We'll do one more with the whole world. God's got the whole world. In God's hands, God's got the whole world. In God's hands, God's got the whole world. In God's hands, God's got the whole world in God's hands. The whole church? We can do one more time. God's got the whole church. In God's hands, God's got the whole church. In God's hands, God's got the whole church. In God's hands, God's got the whole world in God's hands. So as we go out, honoring those that have mothered us, honoring our own mothering spirit and that of God's mothering spirit through us, let us extend that loving spirit out to others, to our children, to our neighbors, our friends, to strangers on the street, offering that love to all that we meet and creating that change in the world. And as we began, let us end with our song. Let it go, my love, my truest love. Let it sail on silver wings. Life's a twinkling, that's for certain, and such a fine thing. We're a gathering of spirits, we're a festival of friends, and we'll pick up where we left off when we all meet again. Oh yeah, didn't we? Don't we make it shine? And aren't we in the middle of something rare and fine? Some glow like the embers, some like colored glass, and some give it all in one great flame, throwing kisses as they pass. Let it go, my love, my truest love. Let it sail on silver wings. Life's a twinkling, that's for certain, and it's such a fine thing. We're a gathering of spirits, we're a festival of friends, and we'll pick up where we left off when we all meet again. Yes, we'll pick up where we left off when we all meet again. Thank you, everyone. Blessings and happy Mother's Day.